to the Dawgs Podcast with your hosts, Blake Reneker, Justin Charles, and Josh All.
What's up, Browns fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Dawgs Podcast. Josh all alone. First solo episode with you guys for a while. The season is, like we said the other day, thank God it's finally over. No more preview shows, no more reaction shows. And now we're going to dive into off-season content, talking about Browns news. We're going to be focusing on the draft and free agency and all the possibilities that lay before our hapless Cleveland Browns moving into 2025. I hope everybody out there, we've said it before, but I hope you guys all had a great holiday season, a great Christmas, New Year's, whatever you celebrate. I hope everything went well. Your friends, your family, your health. I hope everybody's just doing great. New year, new time to be excited about new things. I know down where I'm at in Ohio, we got dumped on with snow. There's got to be at least 1.5 feet that came down in the last 24 hours. So I hope wherever you are, if you got hit with the snowstorm that came through, I hope you guys stayed safe. I hope you're staying warm. Hopefully you didn't have to go to work. I had to drive my wife to work yesterday morning. That was a fun adventure. And but it'll melt. It won't be around forever, just like this horrible, disgusting Brown season was, thankfully, not around forever. So let's dive in here and start talking about what happened yesterday. Andrew Berry had his end of season press conference, talked to the media. He said a lot of things. I don't want to go through the entire press conference because there was honestly just too much. We'll get to different things, I'm sure, as the offseason goes on. But the major piece of information that he dropped to the media was that Deshaun Watson has suffered a setback in his recovery from the surgery to repair his torn Achilles that happened in the Cincinnati Bengals game at home this season. And that was a little bit of a shocker. We were not necessarily expecting any sort of news like that, especially given the chronological order of events over the weekend, which I will dive into here in just a second. But before I do, make sure you guys, if you're on YouTube, like the video, subscribe to the channel, tap the notification bell. We are going to be dropping update episodes, short videos, microcasts, all kinds of things all off season. There's no set schedule. We have no idea when we're posting, but we're going to be posting a lot. So you want the notification bell tapped so you don't miss anything new. And if you want to get in to hang out with our diehard, hardcore Browns community of seriously the best people you're going to meet, especially like in the Brown, like just in the world, these are great people, but specifically within the Browns fan base community, this is where it's at. These guys and gals are phenomenal. Head to jointhedawgs.com, become an official Dog Pack member on the Patreon page. Not only do you get access to this fantastic Browns fans community and 24/7 conversations if you want it with Browns fans from all over the world. Anytime you want to talk Browns or bounce ideas or takes or thoughts, whatever, questions off of all Browns fans, we're in there all the time. That's the place to be. But it's also just a great way to support the show. It helps us financially. It helps us continue to be able to do this year after year and put out episodes throughout the week and follow the news and do the things we do. So we really appreciate all of your support. If you've been with the podcast for any length of time, but especially if you've been with us from the beginning or close to the beginning, it means so much to us to have you following along. And if you're new, we love having you too. Glad you found the show. We love to hear from you. And that's what's great about the Dog Pack. We love to hear from you guys. We love to know, what do you like about the show? What do you wish we did more of or less of or differently? Whatever the case may be, we've taken a ton of feedback from this group specifically over the years, and it has helped improve the show, obviously, because the following just continues to grow. And trust me, that is not lost on any of us. We were just, at the time, for basically, working from home Browns fans during COVID that just said, hey, why don't we just start talking Browns on a podcast and have a little bit of fun and see what happens with it. And this is what it has grown into, and it's continuing to build and grow. And we're just grateful for everybody who's been a part of that, who's been along for the ride. And like I said, even if you're new to the show, you're a part of it now. And we appreciate all of you. You're the best audience in the world, the Browns fan base. Let me just say this real quick before I get back to the Deshaun Watson stuff. I see so many outside people, these Browns haters and really just internet trolls and, if I may say, douchebags online just constantly dropping comments on our posts and on other Browns fans' posts saying, you Browns fans deserve this. You brought this on yourselves. Your team has been complete trash since they came back. It's a organization poverty franchise. You deserve everything you get. Respectfully, and not so respectfully, that's bullshit. Because Browns fans are the most loyal fans in all of sports. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what anybody tells me or you or whatever they might say. There is no other fan base on the planet that would go through the crap we've been through and still stick by our team the way we do. Do they piss us off? Oh, yeah. Yeah, do we get frustrated and upset with some of the things they do and the way they play at times? You betcha. It's all part of being a fan. Do we ever leave this team? Do we ever abandon them and say, that's it, I can't do it anymore? I am officially rooting for a different team? Hell no. I'm back every single year, just as passionately, just as diehard as I was the years prior, and it never changes despite what this team puts me through. And that's the definition of loyalty. It might be a little bit insanity. It might be a little bit delusion, or maybe there's just something wrong with us. I don't know. But the biggest thing to understand from that is you are loyal. You are part of the greatest fan base in all of sports. I will not debate that with anybody. That is what we are. We are Browns fans. Screw everybody else. If you get a fan from a different team, Steelers, for example, come and say, oh, you guys suck, you blah, 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 the Browns, they went 10-7 this year. And again, they're talking about firing their coach. Their fan base cannot handle the lack of production the team has put forth since they lost to the Browns in the Snow Bowl. And yet here we are, Browns fans, 3-14. We're like, yep, right back to the suckage of the Browns. But you know what? I'm not going anywhere. We are unmatched. I don't care what anybody says. As fans, as loyal fans to an organization, to a team, nobody comes close to the Cleveland Browns fans. You guys, us, we're all in this together. So make sure to stay with us throughout the offseason here. It's going to be different, obviously, than last year, because last year there was so much hope and optimism with what the team did have. Deshaun Watson coming back from his shoulder surgery, the way he played in 2023, which was not phenomenal by any stretch of the imagination, but it also wasn't terrible. It was good enough to win games, and we thought with a healthy team around him, a new offense tailored toward him, hey, 2024 is looking up here, baby. They're telling us all the right things. They're making all the right moves, and we went ahead and ignored a whole lot of red flags. So that is on us for sure, but we're not going to be doing that this season. So let's talk about Andrew Berry yesterday, Deshaun Watson, setback with the Achilles injury. I want to talk about what it means moving forward. But there's one thing that I haven't seen a lot of people talking about online, and maybe I'm just not looking in the right places. Maybe I honestly don't go scouring Twitter or anything like that because it just gets so stupid and negative. But I still haven't seen a ton of this. But Sunday, this is before Barry's press conference the other day. So I believe it was Sunday. It was either Saturday or Sunday. Over the weekend, Deshaun Watson posted a video to his TikTok account, and it was a video of him. I don't know where they're vacationing, Europe. I think maybe him and his girlfriend is what I saw somebody post. Either way, a TikTok video of him dancing along the side of a highway or the side of a road. They pulled over their car, parked, got out of the car, put a tripod up behind the car, and they were dancing along the side of the road. It was honestly kind of weird and awkward and just a little cringe, but those are my opinions. Maybe you didn't have a problem with it. Maybe you didn't even see it, but either way, this happened. So he posted a video of himself and his girlfriend dancing outside their car on the highway, blah, blah, blah. And then that was, like I said, either Saturday or Sunday. I can't remember which day, but it was either the very next day or 2 days later, yesterday, on Monday, the Browns announced that he had a setback in his recovery from the Achilles surgery. So Andrew Berry said now his status for 2025 is in doubt, which we'll get to it, but I don't think it was ever in question. I mean, we all said when he got hurt, probably just played his last snap for the Browns and probably in the NFL period. But let's move forward into this a little bit. Now, this is all my speculation. So I'm not reporting anything that I've read, seen, heard, know. Like, this is just kind of my gut feeling on things. But my first thought after seeing the video of him dancing with his girlfriend there, like all that, is that this dude does not seem to be right in the head right now. I've heard people describe him as the most tone deaf person. And honestly, I can't really disagree with that. The stuff that he's been posting on social media, in all reality, it's his life. It's his social media accounts. The dude can post whatever he wants. I'm not saying he can't or shouldn't. I'm just saying I don't think that he fully understands the optics of his situation with the team that employs him and the fan base that I just got done telling you is the best fan base in the world. It's like you just kind of want to look at the guy and try to explain this to him. And I didn't think that anybody would have to explain this to a grown man in his situation, but not everybody sees things the way maybe they should. You got to understand, it's like most of the fan base does not like you. A lot of people believe that you run one, if not multiple burner accounts on X. Crazy times there. You've turned into the biggest running joke currently in the sports world. The Browns team has put themselves in a very precarious cap situation to give you a shitload of money. And then while you're rehabbing yet another season-ending injury, you post a video of you dancing on the highway on your surgically repaired heel one day before the team tells us that you've suffered a setback in your recovery. Now, again, your life, your social media, you do whatever you want. I get all that. But at the same time, then you do that. You can't then also be surprised or really upset when fans completely roast you for doing all of that. In psychology, I looked this up because I could not remember the term. I remember taking the classes in high school and college, but you know how those things just totally stick with you through life. The term, it's called looking glass self. And basically it's the idea that people develop their self-image by watching and understanding how they are perceived by others, essentially acting like a mirror, reflecting their social perception back to them. This dude ain't got it. He does not have looking glass self capabilities whatsoever. Now, if you've been with our podcast for a while, you know we supported and defended Deshaun Watson so heavily since he's been here. So much so that we were invited to his 7-on-7 camp last summer and interviewed him on the podcast. He doesn't sit down with many people to do interviews or to talk to anybody in the media. He does not make himself available. And we got that opportunity. But over the course of this past season, since, I guess that was in July that we went up there and met him, it has gotten more and more difficult to do it, to defend him, to support him. And eventually you can't do it anymore and still try to hold any sense of credibility. For me, things really changed when that latest allegation case emerged right after week 1 this season. It was like the season just started. We just got our asses handed to us by the Cowboys at home on opening day in the afternoon time slot. It was embarrassing. We looked like total shit out on the field. And then I think it was the next day or maybe Tuesday after that game, all the news dropped about him now having a brand new case filed against him, or not a case, but allegations brought forth and all this kind of stuff. It opened the door for yet another possible suspension by the NFL. And it was just enough. I had had enough. I'm so sick and tired of talking about sexual misconduct allegations on my podcast. I just want to talk about football, especially when the team is actually playing. There's only 17 weeks of the year that the Browns are actually playing football games that mean something. And I don't want to be talking about this other crap. So, as the season went on, then his on the field play was the worst in the league. And then he got hurt again. And then you guys might remember this. I don't think we really talked about it much on the podcast because it was probably going to lead to an argument, but he was posting videos of his vacations while the team was at the time they were suffering through what we all watched was the worst season in recent memory, at least. And we did not talk about that whole video situation because Blake, we would have argued a lot about it. Blake didn't feel like it was that big of a deal. He wasn't obviously active or being able to play, so he doesn't really care that he's on vacation. For me, I don't necessarily care what you're doing whenever you're rehabbing your injury, but it goes back to the social optics of yourself. You have the highest guaranteed contract in NFL history. You are supposed to be the game-changing quarterback for the team. You're currently injured again after playing like the worst quarterback in the NFL before you were injured. And the team is struggling through the season. And while they're, out playing in the freezing cold and getting their asses kicked, the guy who should be the leader of the team is posting videos of his nice candlelit dinner on a balcony or on a cruise ship or wherever the hell it was with his girlfriend. And it was just like, dude, like, fine. If you're on vacation, whatever, why are you posting about it? You know you're going to take backlash for this, or at least you should. You should know that you're going to get some heavy shit from everybody. You are going to get so heavily criticized about this. Maybe he just doesn't care. And that, honestly, that just proves the point that a lot of people tried to make beforehand. It just proves them right that he doesn't care. He's got his money and he doesn't care. And those were all things that I didn't want to believe about him before. And I really didn't. I saw the way he fought to get back from his shoulder surgery or injury last year. And, he was there for voluntary OTAs from day one, the mini camps. Like, the dude didn't miss a practice, didn't miss a day. He was right back on the field trying to be the guy that we traded for. But then these new things start happening, and it's like, man, maybe people kind of had a point about you. Maybe you really don't care what people think of you because you got your money. It doesn't really matter that the team sucks or is good. Either way, you're good. And again, I'm going through speculation here, but just airing a little bit of the feelings that I have about this whole situation. And like I said, that just goes back to his inability to understand how people perceive him and having no social awareness of his situation. It's like, you're hurt, you're not playing, your money's all guaranteed, whatever. You do whatever you want. But then posting about it just fuels the public animosity toward you. So I just don't understand the point in doing it. But that was my take. I know Blake didn't care at all about it. I have no idea how Justin feels about it. Justin does not like to give opinions too often if it's going to cause any sort of friction, but that's what this show is all about, baby. We like to debate back and forth and then obviously get your opinions on the matter. So drop it in the comments. How do you guys feel about the things that Watson has been posting while he's been, recovering from this injury? People already believe that he's kind of like a clueless, selfless guy, took his money, doesn't really care about the team or playing football. And then when you go off and you show your extravagant vacationing during the time of year when you should be playing quarterback for the team, at some points it just becomes kind of hard to defend you anymore. So now we have this setback news after that awkward highway roadside dancing video. I think Deshaun Watson could use a very serious PR team to help manage his social image because he is almost as bad at that as he was at playing quarterback this season. This episode is sponsored by Omaha Steaks. Browns fans, if you're like me, you kind of just need to catch your breath right now. The holiday season just wrapped up, all the hustle and bustle of Christmas and New Year's, and then for us, just the stress of all this crappy Browns season. Man, I'm ready to just move into the new year and forget about all that other stuff. And one way to simplify that whole process, making sure that your meal prep decisions are locked in and ready to go. Take the guesswork out of what's for dinner tonight with Omaha Steaks. I always tell you how my freezer is always stocked with Omaha Steaks. I've got burgers and steaks and chicken. I've got the wings, the meatballs, the scalloped potatoes, the caramel apple tartlets. I've got all that stuff in there just ready to go at a moment's notice. And right now, you too can bring home the world's best steak experience with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during the end of season sale. And for an extra $20 off your order, use promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, when you check out. So reset and relax after the busy holiday season with the exceptional taste of Omaha Steaks and the convenience of having high-quality food on hand at all times. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com, OMAHA steaks.com, with an extra 20% off with promo code DAWGS at checkout. Minimum purchase may apply. Thanks to Omaha Steaks for sponsoring this podcast. This episode is brought to you by Bodden Sports. Browns fans, Bodden Sports is your one-stop shop for all your athletic gear. Bodden started out perfecting and manufacturing the best balls in the business. Yeah, if that sounded dirty, that's more about your mind than my words. But hey, it's true. Baseballs, softballs, footballs, basketballs, volleyballs, soccer balls, you name it, and Bodden has engineered the highest standard sports balls available. And now they offer more than just sports balls. If you got kids playing baseball or softball, Bodden has batting gloves and bats to go along with both game balls and training balls. If you're into basketball, Bodden makes basketball specifically for indoor or outdoor use. Heck, Bodden even has all the equipment you need for pickleball, which is one sport that I hear everyone is playing, and yet I still never have. And I need to fix that soon. But don't miss the backyard game section of Bodden's website, where you can order everything you need for this upcoming outdoor season. Pool balls, backyard volleyball nets, croquet, bocce, horseshoes, cornhole, and more. Right now, you can get 10% off your entire order at Bodden Sports, BADEN sports.com/dogs, DAWGS, and use promo code DAWGS when you check out. That's 10% off all the top quality sporting gear you need this season. BoddenSports.com/dogs. So let's move into kind of what this setback probably means for the Browns. Again, this is speculation, but this is a little bit more evidence-based speculation as to what the Browns are going to do moving forward with him. So this was a post on X today. According to Over the Cap, $44.3 million of Deshaun Watson's 2025 salary is insured for injury. So that provides financial relief against the cap next season. Now, there's been some speculation, we've done it too, that Watson would, like I said at the beginning of the show, would never play for Cleveland or maybe even ever in the NFL ever again. But we also know that the Browns cannot cut him. So I see this a lot on social media. Just cut him, cut your losses, move on, just eat the money and go, just get rid of him. The Browns literally cannot do that. So we've talked about it before, but if you're new, here it is again. The Browns cannot cut Deshaun Watson because his dead cap hit for 2025 is $119 million. If the Browns would outright cut him as a post-June 1st designation, they would lose somewhere around 44% of their cap for 2025. And that all depends on the final cap number for the season, but it's going to be somewhere around that number. It's going to be a little less than the halfway point. You cannot field a roster with a little over half of the cap space available to you, so he cannot be cut. So then we said, well, okay, well, the Browns will probably place him on the PUP, for training camp and everything, and then they'll probably end up finding a way to leave him there for the season. Well, this setback opens the door for exactly what we said would probably happen. He has to be on the roster, but he doesn't have to be with the team. Watson and his contract will be on the active roster, but he won't count against the active roster limit while he's on the PUP. So we don't have to allocate a roster spot to him, but we keep his contract on the cap, which is what we have to do. So is it PUP, physically unable to perform list, or is it injured reserve IR? These injured lists and the rules for each, they're super confusing. I feel like they change at least a little bit every season, what you can do, what you can't do, how many games you're out, this, that, or the other. But according to sportingnews.com, if a player lands on IR during training camp, then they're ineligible to return to this team's active roster. They must either remain on IR for the rest of the season, or they can be designated to return during the roster cut down to 53 players after training camp. So to me, what this says is we should expect Deshaun Watson to spend training camp on the PUP, and then the Browns will move him to the IR during roster cutdowns, which means he will miss the entire season. Now, that's currently how I project this going for 2025. And then Jack Duffin broke it down real well when they restructured Watson's contract a few weeks ago. But the Browns can then cut him in 2026 as a post-June 1st designation for a much more manageable dead cap number. So I think that is personally how I see things going. He'll start off on the PUP. In training camp, he'll be moved to the IR. He will miss all of 2025. The Browns will cut him. in 2026. So I don't know if that's exactly how things are going to go, but at the moment here on January 7th of 2025, as the year just kicks off, that's how I project things going. Pup to IR, miss all of 25, cut in 26, never plays a snap for the Browns again, and he'll never play a snap in the NFL again. Nobody's signing him. Nobody's picking him up. He'll be done. He'll take his money and he'll have a good life, but he will not play football at the professional level ever again. So that is not exactly how we or the Browns, I'm sure, envision things going for a guy that we traded 3 first-round picks plus more to acquire and then paid him $230 million guaranteed with a $46 million annual cap hit allocation to come here and play 19 games for us out of the 51 possible over 3 seasons. And then it was a 5-year contract. So essentially we're going to get 19 out of 85 games that we paid Deshaun Watson to be here for. We're getting 19 out of 85. But going back to the press conference yesterday, Andrew Berry, honestly, I didn't watch the whole thing, but I've seen enough of the pieces and the clips and everything. I felt like it was probably his most human press conference ever. Honestly, what else can you do after a 3-14 season when the expectations were how many playoff wins makes this a successful season? You want the opportunity to win a couple and maybe even more, and then you only end up winning 3 games. Yeah, you kind of got to come up and be humble. You cannot pussyfoot dance around this. It was a bad season, and he said as much. So I did appreciate his straightforwardness about it. He said the Deshaun Watson trade has not gone how we anticipated, which is pretty much as close to Andrew Berry saying, yeah, we royally mucked that one up, as you're ever going to hear him say. So Berry's full quote on the situation was this: "To date, the trade hasn't gone as we anticipated. A big part has been the start-stop availability. We've never been afraid to take big swings. There's no such thing as riskless transaction. We will be positioned moving forward, both from a cap perspective and I hate how we got here, but with having the second pick in the draft, whether we select a player or use it to maximize in another way, it gives us an opportunity to really pivot if we need to." And of course, I'm just thinking, pivot. But the fans are done. The team is done. Watson, his time in Cleveland, it's over. And even though his contract has to be here for 25, he likely will not even be with the team. I can't even imagine they have him in the building. He's not in the building now, or, at the second half of the season while he was rehabbing that injury, he wasn't around. So I don't know why he'd be around at all in 25. We're going to have some sort of veteran QB presence on the roster. We're going to have some sort of rookie QB presence on the roster, whether it's pick 2 or, we take a guy in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th rounds, whatever it might be. There's going to be other quarterbacks conglomeration going on here in Cleveland, and they just honestly don't need Watson in the mix. I know they talked about the competition and everything. I feel like there were things they had to say during the season, and yeah, I'm not saying that this whole setback isn't real, but I'm just saying it's pretty damn convenient that, the Browns need a good excuse to keep him on an injured list all of 25 because they got, insurance against his cap hit, and they can get some cap relief if he's injured next year and all that kind of stuff. And hey, lo and behold, he's got a setback. He looked like he was moving pretty well in that video he just posted. But apparently there was a setback. So I'm not saying they're lying or anybody's making things up. I'm just laying it out there. It's a little convenient, but whatever. This is what it is. And I do believe that we are now entering, and we can celebrate it if that's what you want to do. If you're just, I think we're all just kind of ready to move on. So we are entering the next quarterback era in Cleveland, whatever this era might look like, whether it's a bridge season or a developmental season, or they go ahead and shoot big and take Ward or Sanders at 2 and, try to hopefully have the QB of the future. We'll see what happens. But the Browns will be playing in 2025, and probably the most you're going to see of Deshaun Watson will be whatever new weird videos he posts online. It's unfortunate that this is the way things have gone, but hey, that's where we are. And, the whole thing has been one incredibly major disappointment, but we are Browns fans. We are totally used to disappointment. The thing is, Tell me how you guys feel in the comments. How long have you been a Browns fan? What's your current mental state with the team, your perspective, all that kind of stuff. But I feel like the skin is so thick for Browns fans that when other people say, oh, your team went 3-14, they suck. Yeah, I know. Yeah, we went 1-31 over a 2-year stretch. Like, I get it. This ain't the worst it's ever been as far as, winning games wise. And have we ever hit on a quarterback? No. We just started our 40th one since we came back in 1999. So this really isn't nothing new. I mean, being in a QB turmoil situation, we've been in a perpetual state of turmoil at the position since we came back in 99, and it's just going to continue until we get it right. Eventually, I do believe that we will get it right. Will it be quarterback 41, 42, 43, 50, 60? I don't freaking know, but one of them, at some point, the law of averages would suggest at some point we will have a quarterback in Cleveland that can be a franchise guy. It's got to happen at some point, and that's just the optimism and faith and belief you got to have as a fan of this team. But I appreciate any feedback you guys want to give me on the whole Watson situation with this setback, with just the off-field stuff, not necessarily the allegation, but more like his overall brand, his self-awareness, his presence online. Let me know what you guys think. Posting the videos, on vacations and dancing and stuff during his rehab. Like, is that a big deal to you? Do you guys even care? Is it not a big deal? Or are you like, hey, this is kind of stupid of this guy? I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. But before I wrap up this, and this would be considered a little bit more of a microcast. We're not doing these hour-long updates. Just want to give you guys thoughts and opinions from the show. But let's take one last dreadful look at the results of Deshaun Watson's career in Cleveland, because like I have said multiple times, I do believe it is firmly over. So I think we can cap the results at this. Deshaun Watson played 19 total games, had a 9-10 overall record, had a 61.2 completion percentage, 3,365 yards, which comes out to just 177 yards per game. In Houston, he averaged 270 yards per game, so he was almost a full 100 yards per game worse in Cleveland. 19 touchdowns to 12 interceptions, just averaged 1 touchdown per game. Put him on pace for 17 touchdowns per season. You ain't making the playoffs if your quarterback isn't throwing high 20s into the 30s minimum touchdown passes in a season. In Houston, he threw 26, 26, 33 in his 3 full seasons, healthy down there. He had 154 first downs in the 19 games for the Browns, comes out to just 8 first downs per game. In Houston, he was averaging 13 first downs per game. So a big drop off there. He took 70 sacks in Cleveland, 3.7 per game. He averaged 3.2 per game in Houston. So his sack problem was a problem before, and it remained consistent here in Cleveland. The rushing aspect, another thing that we were excited about getting with him was that extra playmaking ability, the dual threat, the ability to do things with his legs just wasn't really there either. Just 3 touchdowns on the ground in his 3 seasons here. He averaged over 4 touchdowns on the ground per season in Houston. So a big drop off. He fumbled 5 times in 19 games, lost 2. He only had 3 fumbles in 54 career games with Houston. So that just everything was bad. Total QBR in Houston was 70. But dropped down to 35.7 in Cleveland. So his QBR was cut in half from his time in Houston to his short time in Cleveland. His EPA in Houston in 2020 was a 99.6. Now, I couldn't get the exact final on ESPN for this season because he didn't play enough games to qualify for the season-end ranks. But the average from his games in EPA for this season comes right out to around 0. The drop-off, dramatic, just absolutely mind-boggling for a guy who made 3 straight Pro Bowls. I've said it before, and I'm going to keep saying it. He's the Tiger Woods situation of the NFL right now. He had off-the-field sex scandal stuff going on. He had an injury, and his career just completely fell off a cliff. And he's done. I don't think he ever plays again, and certainly not in Cleveland. So if you are ready for that to happen, you can celebrate. If you were hoping that, hey, maybe this guy can rehab and come back and still be the quarterback, sorry to break it to you, don't think that's going to happen. We're just kind of accepting reality here and ready to move on and see what the Browns do in the draft and free agency. And we're going to cover all that stuff. We're going to be doing video breakdowns of the different prospects. If the Browns go, this route, they could draft this guy or this guy at pick 2. If they trade back a couple spots, they could take this guy and then collect some whatever. We're going to talk about all of it. There is no right answer, honestly, I don't believe, because the Browns have options. And either way, it's just about making sure that whichever route you go, you got to get the right players, which at times we do, but at other times we just don't. And we'll try to investigate a little deeper into the reasons why and see what other personnel moves the Browns make. Fired Dorsey, fired Andy Dickerson. Not sure why Paul D. Podesta is still here. I'm waiting for that notification that he is no longer part of the organization. This will be a separate video, a separate topic some other time, but you guys know how I feel if you've watched the show. I really think Paul D. Podesta is a major piece to the mess that is the Cleveland Browns front office, decision-making, all that kind of stuff. He's been a part of every bad decision we've made since, 2016. I think he was back. He was here for the 1-31. So not sure why he's still here. He must have some dirt on the Haslams or something, because otherwise I'm not sure why we have a baseball guy in San Diego dictating football decisions in Cleveland, Ohio. But I'll get off that little soapbox. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Drop your thoughts, any questions you have, any of your own opinions, any insights, or anything we didn't mention that you think, hey, have you considered this or thought about this, or maybe we didn't hear about something that we should have covered here. So just let me know. And I hope you guys have a great week. Stay warm and definitely stay out of the snow if you're getting dumped on like we are here in Ohio. Again, if you like this content, like the video, subscribe to the channel, tap the notification bell, and please consider joining the Dawgs at jointhedawgs.com on our Patreon. And again, even if you're not interested in the private Discord, even if you're not interested in getting into the fantasy football leagues for next year, you don't want to be in there talking to people all the time, it's not really your shtick, that's totally fine. But like I said at the top of the show, it is a great way to help support the show. So if you like what we're doing and you at least want to be a contributing part to our continuation of the podcast, Patreon, jointhedawgs.com is the perfect place to do it. So we appreciate everybody's support. And even if you don't have the $5 a month to help support the show, just watching the video, liking it, listening to the podcast on audio, dropping us a 5-star written review, sharing the podcast episodes on your social media, all that stuff, telling your friends and family about the show, all that stuff helps. We appreciate anything at all that you do to help grow the show. We really do. And we're excited for the offseason. We're excited to dive into all the content that we have planned. And we were talking about it already the other day. We said, our Draft Night Live episode this year is going to be a whole hell of a lot more fun than it has been in years past, because instead of doing it on Friday night to cover the second and third rounds, we're doing Thursday for the first round, and we're going to be talking Browns selection within that first hour, whether they pick 2 or move back to 5 or 6, whatever. They're not going far if they move back, and we'll be there to talk about it. So a lot of great stuff coming up. Appreciate everybody tuning in. And until I see you guys in the next one, let's go Browns.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dawgs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at the Dawgs Podcast. Get your thoughts on the show at thedawgspodcast.com.
This episode is brought to you by Danger Coffee. Browns fans, we talk about how Danger Coffee is made free from mold toxins that are in 45% of the world's coffee, but that's not all that Danger Coffee has to offer. Mineral and nutrient deficiencies are a big deal. They make you feel sick, tired, stressed, and they can give you brain fog. These deficiencies negatively affect your immune system, your digestion, sleep, metabolism. Have you ever wondered why you get an initial burst from your coffee, but then you get that little crash not long after. Danger Coffee's patent-pending process remineralizes your body with more than 50 trace minerals and electrolytes, leaving you more energized, engaged, powerful. These micronutrients enter the cells to boost performance. They bind to toxins to provide detoxification support. I know that sounds like a lot, but the bottom line, guys, is minerals matter, and most of us really don't get enough of them on a daily basis. Danger Coffee delivers micronutrients, plus it gives you access to the minerals you already have. Head to dangercoffee.com, use our code DAWGS, DAWGS, for 10% off your order. And that code can be used over and over. So you get 10% off every order you make using code DAWGS. It's time to start every day off with a cup of coffee that gets you going and actually keeps you going. Dangercoffee.com, code DAWGS.